Jay, bro, truth be told, you a Trumpster? Eddie
I'm a
Jimenez.
I'm a Trumpster 100%.
You got anything to say about what we've been talking about as far as the whole White House pointing the finger at Mexico about the corruption?
I think
Mayo making deals not on his enemies but on politicians, and then
that
Mexico, sending their troops.
that's a joke. So let me explain. That's a joke. If Miles gonna cooperate, you don't have a choice. You don't pick and choose who you can cooperate. You cooperate against everyone. Plain and simple. Now, in what order? It doesn't matter, but that's a joke to me. If he does cooperate, if he is cooperating, then it's not, you don't get to decide. And I just want to say, like, these reports that are getting out, I don't know. When you go cooperate, he doesn't have a choice of who's going to cooperate. He's going to tell on everyone and anyone. The government, he's going to tell on his friends, on his sons, he's going to tell on his mama.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have that choice. But I think that if he tells he's going to talk for his son, he's going to cooperate for his son or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe like some of the stories they're telling, especially when they're coming from the same people we're talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
Luis Chaparro, we're talking about these people,
Mm-hmm.
like come on, like who are your sources? He even brought up his old source, like I already had given him bad information, right? He said Manuel's grandson.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows? We're gonna see, but when someone starts cooperating, it's gonna be, it's gonna be against anyone.
Everybody could get it.
Yep. No, everyone's gonna get it. How about that? The White House addressing that the
Mm-hmm.
government of Mexico is corrupt and is in cahoots with cartels.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was a big moment for the White House to actually take, and it's a big step to put everything on the table. I think it caught Mexico off guard, and the part where they basically try to like take a stance on it is a joke because I think every American citizen, every Mexican citizen knows that the government worked with the cartels. Everyone knows that, and people ask me it's alleged or they were saying allegations or inferring to or I said no, no. The White House statement wasn't a question. It wasn't you know allegedly. It was a statement. They put it on the table. This is what it is, and you know it. And I think that it basically put Mexico and the government on alert. And it basically says like, look, we know this is what it is, and I think that it was a great day. I think that people don't understand what that means. I think in the United States it's a little bit different, but in Mexico, I think that's a big day, to finally someone, basically call them out on something that everyone's known for so many years. So,
Mm.
and I think that more importantly, what's happened in the last few weeks with Donald Trump and labeling these drug cartels as terrorist organizations, right? And I think that Mexico taking a stance that basically like the White House and President Trump were attacking their sovereignty or something like that. I think that that's the issue. I think the issue is that instead of Mexico and President Sheinbaum basically saying, thank you, we need your help and come help us with open arms and accept the United States help for their country, for the country of Mexico and all their citizens, because they're the ones that have to live through the BS of all the stuff that's been going on. I'm not sure if you've been like kept up shy, but there's a YouTube video right now of a drone attack,
They were
and
telling me about that earlier. I haven't seen it yet.
and,
Somebody
and
drop
they're
it in the
acting like
Discord if you got it.
yeah, they're acting like they're actually playing a video game, bro. It almost looks like it's like a American government, like night vision version of a attack on Yemen somewhere. You get me?
They're on some Call of
And
Duty shit.
yeah, it's for real, real Call of Duty. And I think it's like the people suffer is the Mexican people, and the point that the government, of China was actually taking that stand, it's a joke. Like I'm Mexican, bro, and I would say like I don't think when they're talking about criminals and Mexican drug cartels, they're talking about the Mexican people. I think they're talking about what it is. So if that title doesn't fit you, then what you worried about? Unless it does fit you, and you wear the outfit every once in a while. And I think that there's gonna be a lot of things that are gonna happen, and I guess we're gonna be able to see pretty soon like how tough these cartel dudes are, and how all that's gonna play out. But I will guarantee you this: there's gonna be a lot of people wishing they're gonna be able to snitch, and with some of these laws that are gonna be in place because President Trump labeled them as terrorist organization, they're not gonna have a lot of rights. They're not gonna have a lot of chances. So,
Gonna be on some Guantanamo Bay shit.
yup, wishing they were at a MCC or ADX.
Talk to us about. Oye, y el Rocha. Y el Rocha. Bueno, y el Rocha. El Rocha and this surveillance headquarters that they found.
Wow, that was like I saw that they have what the C4 system tied into the security system, right? Um, it's not surprising, It's not surprising at all that they have access to all that. Who knows, probably even more than that now. Do I think that they need the government's permission? Nah. Whoever's in charge of those systems, I think everyone's, working together. You get me? It's not just one person. It's the police, it's the governor, it's the mayor, it's everyone. It just kind of like puts corruption, at the forefront, and you get to see it at first hand and what it looks like.
Did you see the protests in Culiacan?
Yeah,
They were trying to
I
take
think that
your
was
boy
great for the
Rocha's door
people.
down.
Yeah, but it's weird because the same people that are trying to take his door, they're gonna go and basically, put on a Chapo flag or something. Who knows? In Culiacan, it's just different, bro. Probably all the Mayos, you know what I mean? You get me? Like, who knows?
So you think this Rocha character is gonna have his? Does every dog get his day? How do you think that guy's gonna end up?
If he doesn't end up dead, he'll be all right.
So he's more likely to end up unalive than he is to be put in prison.
Yeah.
Nicholas Irving says going at it with the cartel can be a 20, 30 year situation.
No, man. The difference between the cartel members is that I'm gonna say that they're Mexican, bro. Okay, they're not stupid. They're supposed to do it for the money. Once that money runs out, some leaders are out there. They're not gonna be willing to fight. They're not fighting for a cause.
Mm.
The cartels need the money. Okay, it's very expensive, and I think that once the United States starts putting, like I always say, is like the cartels don't fear bullets; they fear laws. That's the difference. So do I think it's gonna, just say you have mercenaries going over there? Do you think like it's gonna be issue for them? Absolutely. They're trained mercenaries over there too. Like, and then you have the people that's gonna like the people that just let just randoms come. But now where you're talking about the government, the United States military, it's a little bit different. Cartel members don't stand a chance. But what I think that people fail to realize is that, to me, where the United States is going to have the upper hand, where people don't understand because we're thinking about like military personnel, is not with the personnel, but it's going to be with technology. The cartel can't survive without their phones, without communications, without cell phones, without that, they have nothing. You get me? Plus, you add the border, military at the border, that's probably going to start focusing on ammunitions and weapons going south. I think it's going to be easier than what people believe, and I think it's just going to take for them to take down a couple of heads.
But what does that look like? I mean, you can't eradicate it, right?
No, it's just gonna look. It's
It's
gonna
just
be
gonna evolve.
evolve into like some real nerds. You get me? They're gonna know their lessons. You get me? And know the lessons of not being violent and business people that are gonna be doing it. Like I'll tell you something. There is a large number of people who who are businessmen that are in the world of drug trafficking that and never get involved with criminals of that sort.
Those cell phones are gonna be the ultimate downfall unless there's a major game plan adaptation.
And just today technology, guys, it's not just cell phones, it's all the radios, everything. Like we're talking about the United States government, guys.
The U.S. isn't ending the war on drugs in Mexico because it hasn't even ended it at home. No real action on addiction or mental health, just the same failed strategy.
Well, I have something to say. So look, let's just get it really, really like I want to just address it. The war against cartel is not the war against drugs. Two separate things, okay? The cartels are what like basically running havoc and destruction and violence and everything that they're doing is not drugs. I agree. You have to do more for prevention and addiction, but that's not going to stop the demand for drugs. Absolutely not. But it's going to probably just make the business like a little bit more like the Colombians, right? How they actually do it today. It went from being a violent country run by all these real like violent criminals to now it being a more of a quieter like business suit type of business, right? with a new type of drug traffickers that produce more coke today than ever. So I think that there's a big difference. I think that you'll still have drugs minus the violence. How about that?
Right, because that shit's just something that got out of hand already. It's become something that has no controls anymore. You can't sustain that shit. Everybody dies. We lost the war on drugs, the war on terror. Next up, the war on the cartels.
No, they're not losing that one. I guarantee you that one.
How do you feel about this Ocran Leaks article? Did you get to read that article, that Mika Trevino article?
Yeah, I read it. I heard the audio too.
My thoughts were it could be a couple of things. First of all, deception in that lifestyle is everything. Deception is sometimes for no reason, sometimes with very strenuous reasons, right? He could have been there sitting there just downplaying the truth of Ocran Leaks, or he could have been shitting on Ocran Leaks, or isn't he supposed to be Ocran Leaks? Like, what do you take from this whole back and forth in that conversation?
All right, there's a couple of things that I started to think about. We don't know the context of it. We don't know why, who this person he was talking to,
Right.
and what was he selling them. He could have been selling them BS. What if he's a popo and he's just saying, nah, everything's a lie? You get me? We don't know. You know what I mean? What is it? I do believe that whoever Mika Torito is obviously, to me, it's going to be someone who was like in law enforcement, or maybe a journalist, because obviously I seen that he did the Valdez, right?
Well, here's the thing. Yeah, he did the Valdez, but we were thinking about that too. I said he sounded like he didn't like
bitter.
criminals, and then Jose Amado said, "Nah, he's known to write very pizza-friendly editorials." And then 5 seconds later, I read something that kind of made me feel that way. He was like, "Oh, he was trying to make it seem like the Guzmans were the villains and he was the victim." And I was like, "Oh, you sound like you picked a side yourself." So I don't know.
I think that's what I read. I felt like, wait, hold on. Like the way I look at it, he brings up the like the journalist, or maybe it's not here. He's picking a side. Maybe there's a lot of journalists that believe that the Damasons is the one that's sent to kill this journalist who's very respected, right?
Right.
And I think that if you're a journalist, then that's your enemy.
Right.
I don't know the details of what it was. I know they blame one another for that. His story is a bias. It's his own story, right? Coming from his own mouth. Like, it's not like it's a website or journalistic way. It's something he's putting out with this information, so it'll be very biased. But me listening to that on recording, I felt like we don't know the context. We don't know who Mini Leak was supposedly talking to. You get me? It's not surprising to me. Like, me and you, I think we even talked about this online, saying that whole Chapo organized the shit was the dumbest thing I've ever heard. So he made up that lie to feed Luis Chaparro BS. Then he admitted to it right there. You get me? Sure.
Right. But is he talking bullshit to the person he's talking to? Is a question, a big question.
That's what I'm thinking. Like, we don't know who he's talking to. You get me?
Mm-hmm.
So he might be saying truths and lies at the same time. We don't know the context. We don't know if he has a good relationship with this person. We don't know if the person's a fad. We don't know if the person
evidently maybe the person was the one recording him. You know what I'm saying? And the way dude framed the question sounded like a bad informant. You know what I'm saying? Somebody that wanted to get caught type shit.
Yeah, I don't know. That's what I say. So I think that, to me, that story about basically the story that was put out was saying that Mini League was like full of shit, it's fraud. I think that's, to me, propaganda too as well. Until the federal government says he's a fraud, like like some of the stuff he says is like. I will tell you like this.
What do you mean, Ocran Leaks or Mini Leaks?
Well, Mini Leak, Mini Leak, Ocran Leaks, but because they said Ocran Leaks, he mentioned Ocran Leaks is bullshit. Everything's fake, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I didn't see every one of his stories, but for the most part, the story he's telling are always like old stories about other people. Mm-hmm. I don't like see these big old lies, or I do see a lot of bias for sure. Mm-hmm. So who knows? I think it's just another story of people trying to get their get back, I guess, right? That's my opinion.
How did you feel about the conversation on Fox? I posed this to the people earlier because I feel like you clearly drew a line and made it clear the cartel is not in the business of busting at law enforcement and shit like that. And I feel like these news places just want to mix these two things up and convolute them for their own reason. They want human trafficking and rug trafficking to be together. Does that make sense? Did you feel like that?
You know, I've been thinking, it's been bothering me a lot, okay? And I say it all the time. And when I say it, like, I'm gonna tell you something. Law enforcement, the media, they look at me like with this like weird look. Two things could happen. Either they don't understand that, right? Either they just don't understand it, or they don't care to understand it. The way they look at it, like it's bad and bad. Who
Yeah, I think
cares?
it's that one.
And I think it's a big difference. And I think that when I try to correct this, they look at me like almost like if I'm trying to stick up or I'm trying, you know what I mean?
You went against their programming.
Yeah, like no, I'm just correcting it. I saw a report today, and they have a senator from Montana. He comes on and he says, you know what? He's talking about drug cartels, and he says the number one profitable business to them is human trafficking. So says who? The fuck? And this is the problem with the media. And this is the problem with congressmen and senators. And they don't understand. They don't know nothing about that. What are you talking about? You
Yeah.
know, I went to do the math, and I said, either, because this is what I believe. I just believe they're not well informed. And I was like, I did the math, and I gave a real high average of, immigrants, and like, how much could they pay? What's the average pay for human traffic? Of what we're seeing, basically, immigrants trying to come into the country, right? What do they pay? And I did the math. I said, bro, these people are delusional. They don't understand that drug cartels are going to do one thing: sell drugs. Human trafficking organizations, they're human trafficking organizations. They pay a little like rent, and the rent that they pay in a border is nothing. You get me? Like a boss is really collecting that money, like it's the Italian mob, bro, or something. Who knows?
Jay, those people don't want to hear what doesn't benefit them.
You know what? I do believe that, but I also believe it's just that they don't understand, right? Like they don't understand that. Does that make sense, bro? What if they just don't know?
Here's my problem with that. You claim to be running a motherfucking country. Why don't you know? Why are you playing dumb? Why aren't you well versed in the shit that you're talking about? Why? Cause now you look like less than a leader to a motherfucker like me. Fuck are you talking
So,
about?
so I don't know if what Trump knows or knows nothing. But how about this is harder? Just forget that. Remember, you're the boss. You're not supposed to know everything. You're supposed to have the right people, around you,
Right,
giving you this information.
right,
So I would say, well, then we have to blame the agencies. You get me?
right.
What's the difference between the two organizations? Now, if you want to put them all together and say, well, they're both criminals, okay, then that's fine.
Right.
But in the context that we're talking about, I think it's different. And remember, we started talking about some of these questions for some of these news stations. We started off with saying that they were had the green light to shoot at border patrols. By the time I went on, it was like they had the green light to drop,
Drone attacks and shit.
yeah, drone bombs
Bruh,
on
they're
them.
fear mongering.
But here's the thing. But listen, it's not the media doing this. It's like who's letting out this information? Where are the memos? Where are they coming from? And the thing is, what I said earlier in this really, in this other interview was like, I don't think the American people, I don't think the Mexican people need more lies. You get me? Just it is what it is. Now, could there be a reason? Could they want the airspace? You get me? The United States airspace, the Mexico airspace, and that's their reason by having these memos, by saying that they have these reports. Maybe so, but who knows? There's damn thugs and bandidos and all that kind of. There's different people in the border too, and it seems like everyone. I don't know if it makes a difference. Am I gonna sound stupid by saying, well, does every criminal have to belong to a cartel? But I guess maybe what they really mean is criminals. The same way, like nowadays, it's very popular to basically, especially in the United States, especially with everyone, that they get a dime bag for someone and they're like, oh, I got a cartel plug,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was with the plug, bruh.
AKA Primo, Chapo. That was a good question. They said, in my opinion, it's a more fatty coming into the country by illegals crossing or by legal people crossing. Absolutely, it's going to be legal people crossing. You see, that's the issue. Like, I don't, like, I separate. We're talking about drug traffickers, we're talking about drug traffickers. You're talking about human smugglers. That's like a total different organization, different, operation. Yeah, I never thought about that. That's a good point, but I might use that. I will tell you something. Like, the worst thing you could do is like give illegals, drugs, that cost money. Now, before they used to do a lot of backpacking and stuff like that, you know. I'm not sure if they'll chance it today, but normally they don't work hand in hand, you know.
Jay, thoughts on Cabrera brothers and their control of the state of Durango?
They've been there. I mean, they've been controlling the state of Rango. They're a big important faction for the Zambadas, and you know, and Felipe. You know, he was one of my associates. But actually, they've been in control of Durango for a long time. Actually, my Zambada actually held like that's where he always like basically hid in their properties in their land.